Welcome everyone back to the Sean Trey Show. I have a really awesome guest with me today. Now, would you like to introduce yourself? I'm gonna just rewind there. Introduce yourself. Tell people who you are and what you do.
Great. So my name is Ari Barkan. I am an actor and a producer.
Nice.
Here in New York and in LA as well. So
cool.
I'm a bi-coastal industry member.
Nice. Now, how long have you been working as an actor and producer?
Very good question. So I think the best way to explain this is explaining how I really got started.
That's the perfect way to go.
Yeah, and pretty much what ended up happening was in high school, I became a fan of the TV show Entourage.
Okay, nice.
And and I know a lot when I say that to people, a lot of people are like, oh, you wanted the fame, you wanted the attention. No. It actually got me interested in the history of Hollywood.
Okay.
So I bought all these books written by these like talent agents who were at that point like in their 80s and just doing memoirs and telling the real deal history of Hollywood. And I coupled my newly found interest in all of that with the fact that my great-grandmother was an actress in the former Soviet Union.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And when she immigrated here with my family, thank you. And when she immigrated here with my family, she did community theater and retired being an actress here in America, specifically in Springfield, Massachusetts, before our family just dispersed to different areas of the country. And so one of the places that they went was California, which basically gave me access to go there once, twice, as many times as I want. And I still have a great aunt there. So with the fact that Los Angeles culture was already instilled in me from a young age, and the fact that its association with entertainment, and my great-grandmother was an actress, and here's my interest in the history of Hollywood and the entertainment industry as a whole. In college, I basically decided to do some extra work, some background work.
Nice.
Now,
that's how I started. I started in background work, man. You know what? I'm going to interject. People judge background work. I loved it. I thought it was ridiculously fun, and I was like, this is such a cool thing. It's just you're right.
It was an experience. It was for sure like something. For somebody who's never been on a movie set or a TV set, right? And you go on the first one as an extra, you're like in Wonderland. You're like, wow, and you have to have a passion for it. So a lot of the background friends who I met at the time were either pursuing acting as a new thing, or retired from their old careers and they just wanted to make some extra money on the side doing what they love alongside the people that they love and admire. Yeah. But I took this and I did skip over one little fact that in middle school I participated in a lot of plays. Okay. And there was one play that stuck with me so much so that...
What is it?
I knew I had to do it. It was The Pajama Game. Nice. And I played lead Mr. Hassler. And awesome. You can imagine this little sixth grader with a real cigar in his mouth just walking around in these big business pantsuits. And it was awesome, a thrill. Man. And if I did this today, I'd be so nervous about memorizing and getting that dialogue on point. I mean, I'd get it done, of course, but back then I wasn't that nervous. I was just going into it freely. I'm here to create. And that element of the desire to create is what propelled the start in background work, because I didn't know where else to begin if I was going to in this industry. Yeah. And that was one of the challenges when I moved to LA. My apologies. There's always a little bit of lag, so I would not want to interrupt and But when I got up to LA, there's not anyone kind of telling you what to do. You're just kind of figuring it out, and it's like, well, now. Now there's the internet, of course, but even still, there's a ton of ideas and this and that. And so, I think that one of the things that I find is wherever you start, as long as you're having fun, as long as you're learning, as long as you are gaining experience, rock out, man. Have fun. 100%. I agree with that. And if you are ready to make this experience fun, then the work that you put into it will be seamless. It'll be easy. It'll be fluid. It'll be fantastic. And in college, I tried to go the entertainment route academically as well. Meaning I was trying to become an entertainment lawyer to eventually become a talent agent. Okay. I really wanted to do that. And at the same time, so I got a degree in political science, graduated with that from Brooklyn College, but I still continued doing the extra work, the background work. And as the more I got into that, I started meeting people, I started networking. And, a few years passed, I finally started getting auditions, found a representative, and throughout the years, upgraded my representation to what it is now, which I admire, and here we are.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I really respect that journey. And a couple of things. There's a couple of points I want to kind of dive into. Entourage is a show that I think is really an interesting glimpse, because there's a couple shows that I love, movies and shows that I love, because they're looks behind the camera. You know what I mean? Another one that I absolutely love that's a comedy is I love Tropic Thunder.
Oh, fantastic film. That's a classic. That's a classic film.
Yeah. Tom Cruise is the studio executive, and what was it? Everyone's in that movie. Matthew McConaughey as the agent that's afraid that he's going to get fired. Yeah, it was a movie. It was like,
I mean, you wouldn't expect them to be working alongside these people. It's really interesting.
It's a really interesting movie. But I think Entourage is one of the ones, like, when I was getting started doing, in LA, Entourage was a big show at that time. And I remember one day the Entourage guys came on set. We were shooting at the same place they were shooting, and they walked on the set, and it was just and it was cool, because at that time I was just like, dude, this is awesome, and it's, and it was one of those things, because one of the things that was really cool to me, I was on summer of 2007. I was on a bunch of big features that summer, and I got to work as a stand-in and other things. But for the whole summer, I was on a stand-in on a big production, and I was on Sony lot. And one of the things that was really special to me was this, especially with the person that I didn't talk much to him, but I really had an interesting experience. Paul Walker was one of the nicest guys that I've ever met. And he was just, he was this big star, and and he was just, hey man, how you doing? He's like, what's up, bro? And he was just really respectful, really cool. And what was really cool about that was, here's this guy who was this big star. I mean, and this was it was, height of his, Fast and the Furious stuff. And yet he was just down to earth and nice. And it was one of the things that's beautiful about humanizing these people is that it can also give the rest of us hope that we can aspire that too. These are normal people who put in work, who put themselves out there and took the steps, and they made it. Absolutely. And we can too. We just have to try.
100%. That's all it takes. If you don't try, you'll never know.
Yeah. You never know.
Paul, that's a great story about Paul Walker. You would think such an action star would, have a cocky vibe to him, but it's really refreshing to hear that about somebody like that.
Really nice.
His memory live on, and not to overtake that story, but I can say the same about Robin Williams.
Dude, tell me. Because Robin Williams is one of my absolute heroes, and I hear that he's just amazing. So please, I look forward to this.
Oh, for sure. No, it just made me think of the great entertainers that we lost, unfortunately. And I started thinking about the person I met that I know off the top of my head. And that was, again, when I was doing extra work. I was just put as a hospital background in a movie called The Angriest Man in Brooklyn. And as a background artist, and I had no clue what I was going to be doing that day on The Angriest Man in Brooklyn until I got to set. So first I was brought on just to be a pedestrian, and then that changed. So I did a quick pedestrian thing outside of a cheesecake restaurant, Junior's in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And later there was a hospital scene, and pretty much, I don't know what I'm doing that day, but they placed me and my friend Lorenzo, who happened to be there, and there's a seat between us, and it's the emergency room of the hospital. It's the waiting room. And at that point, I realized exactly what's about to happen. They have these two character-looking guys, me, and this other guy who's shirtless, and we look like characters.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams just walks in, and this is his seat. He's he's sitting right between us. And that was used as promotional images for the movie everywhere.
Oh my gosh, really?
And it was like, wow. And his energy at 6 a.m, like on day 2 of this thing, it was like unmatched energy, but you would never know he's hiding what he was hiding.
Yeah.
It's like he was masking it so well. He was having fun with his stand-in, and his stand-in is somebody who worked with him, unfortunately, on every film that he did. For like 20 years, he used the same stand-in.
Yeah.
They look alike, they sound alike. This guy can be an impersonator of his.
Really?
But Robin Williams always went with this guy, and he was like, I'm not going anywhere unless you pick him to be my stand.
That's amazing, man.
That's how he was. And the same thing goes for how he wanted the crew to work. He wanted to make sure that new jobs were created. He wanted to make sure that everybody was happy. And literally there was a moment in this waiting room, it was in a real hospital, and he just starts along with his stand-in in unison, starts with his tongue doing the Godfather theme. Like as if it's being played on like a balalaika or something, And it was like this moment that everybody just froze and watched them perform. And it was not part of the film. It was just him warming up and having fun with everybody. He was just such a down-to-earth individual. It's like
I've got this list of people that I would love to work with someday. And it's a long list, but there are some, and one of them I actually got to, and I think one of my favorite actors was there was a movie that came out a while back called The Rainmaker, and it was Steven Dorff when he was really young, Armin Mueller-Stahl, and what's his name? James Bond. Daniel Craig was in it. Daniel Craig was in it when he was like a teenager. He plays this soldier that was like enforcing the apartheid, and it's a really interesting movie. But the actor I loved was Armin Mueller-Stahl. He was a German actor.
Yeah.
The nicest man in the world. We were on set, and Armin Mueller-Stahl is sitting in front of me. We weren't planning on telling stories, but like I love talking about people that are just wonderful people. And so Armin Mueller-Stahl was sitting in front of me, and he just was sitting there, and I was the stand-in on this shoot, and I was just sitting there, and Armin Mueller-Stahl didn't want to stand in. He was sitting in his chair, and he's like, I'm just going to stay sitting here. And they're like, you can step off. He's like, I'm relaxing already. And, and I really was respecting. I just didn't want to I didn't want to stress out A team. I was B team, just kind of kept my head down, smile. And he looks down at me and he's like, how long have you been acting? And I was like, I'm like looking around like, is this cool? Like, I don't want to upset anyone here. And then he just launched into this. He's like, how's your representation? Are people taking care of you? Are people helping you on your journey? And he just, for 5-10 minutes, while they were prepping the shot, the man sat down and gave me advice about my career, asked about things, and it wasn't that he just talked to me. He asked about me.
I love that.
Which is amazing. Now, yeah.
People's person.
And I think that's the cool thing about there are really good people out there. Now, I want to get back to you. We had some fun stories there. I thank you for sharing that Robin Williams story.
The first thing that popped up in my mind when you said his name was a sci-fi movie I saw for the first time in high school. I totally forget about the name of it. However, Eastern Promises, where he plays yeah. The stillness with it. And because the way you're describing him and the way he is in that film, it's like,
he's so nice.
What a talented natural man.
So talented because he's so nice. He's so nice, but yet he's this monster in Eastern Promises. It's crazy.
Right, exactly.
That's a testament. That's a testament to great actors. That
exactly. 100%.
And that's one of the things I've said recently to people. Like, I would love to play a really horrible villain. Like, I would love that challenge. Everyone wants to be the good guy. You know what I mean? What about the bad guy?
It's a lot of fun playing bad guys. Let me tell you that. I mean,
tell me from your experience, because you sound like you've had some experience here.
Literally, the very first TV role I've ever booked, like principal role, speaking role, was a co-star on The Blacklist, and I was a nice guy there. I was just helping the investigation. I was not accused of anything, just a simple tow truck driver, blue collar. But everything after that became me playing a bad guy, a villain of sorts, and I had no problem playing goons. I had no problem playing mobsters. I had no problem, I played a Chechen terrorist in a TV show that was on Amazon Prime and on Tubi.
That's
called
interesting.
Big Dogs. But what?
That's interesting.
Yeah. And so pretty much, playing a villain is something I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
But what I really, really want to do is be a Bond villain one day. That's like,
oh man,
if you were to dream role was not to play James Bond, but to be a James Bond villain.
Right.
Just to because the material that they write for their villains, every movie it keeps getting better and better and better.
This is one thing that I think that I completely agree with the James Bond franchise. Bond has stayed, I wouldn't say his character is one-dimensional, but it's pretty much what you're going to get. But the depth of the characters for the villains of Bonds has continued to evolve. And and this is something that's interesting in Hollywood in general, is the evolution of bad guys. Because, it used to be like, Hollywood is pretty straightforward. This is the good guy, that's the bad guy. And, depending on the time period, it was a certain country or a certain nationality. And Hollywood has kind of toned that back and what, we're going to be really careful about who we're, determining is the other. Very 1984, you know what I mean? Like, this is our enemy this week. But they're looking at more nuanced ways to make a villain. And I love that because, the idea of in real life, and it kind of goes into real life, any one of us could be a villain, and even in real life. It's about the choices we make and the situations that we're brought into, Yep. And so I love that. So tell me, we're jumping ahead here. I always ask toward the end of the interview what your dreams and wishes would be like. So let's imagine that you could craft your own Bond villain that you're going to play. What would it be like? What would your character be like?
Wow.
Right?
I would not be able to give you an answer right now because those characters are very deep.
Yeah.
Okay. If you really think about it, because I think the challenge, I'll try to think of something, but I think the challenge of creating, as an actor, being cast as the Bond villain, whether it's Rami Malek, whether it's...
Who did an amazing job.
Right, exactly. I mean, I've seen clips of his, I haven't seen the film yet, but I've seen clips of his work in it, and I don't expect anything less from Rami Malek.
Right.
Now, in the last, 15 years of James Bond, for me personally, Javier Bardem's
hands down.
Hands down,
hands down.
And the beauty of that is that actor, Javier Bardem, Rami Malek, Christoph Waltz, even going to Jonathan Banks in my favorite James Bond ever, which is Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah.
Legit, they all find the humanity of the bad guy.
Yes.
They all find, and that's the difficult part. That's the dangerous part. That's the part where you humanize some of the worst people on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not so easy to create a Bond villain right off the top of your head, and it just takes so much depth. And that's why, as an actor, that's why I want to play a Bond villain. And I think any actor would want to play a Bond villain, male, female, doesn't matter. And it's just because you get to dive into that material, and there's so much to find. And even if you don't find 5 things, you'll find 7 other things that will help shape your character. There's just so much to use from in those scripts, because the dialogue is not only written and rewritten 1,000 times, or the character ideas and everything, but literally the Broccoli family goes and just makes sure that everything is so mint.
Which is to me so important, because when I hear of movies, and I'm not an executive. I don't know the thought process that goes into people greenlighting stuff. I don't want that responsibility, honestly. Like, I like writing my own stories. But when I hear about major franchises that greenlight trilogies or whatever, and there's no story, and you don't have a story arc for a 3-movie trilogy, yeah, I mean, I'm not referencing certain trilogies, but I
know what you mean.
When you approach something and you don't have a story, and you just kind of like, well, let's wing them one at a time. Like, how do you do that? Like, the story it starts with story. Everything starts with story,
Yeah.
And stories start with characters. It's like really good characters.
I think the partial answer for that is because a lot of Hollywood is all about money.
Yeah.
Somebody will spend $10 million of their own money as an investor, as an angel investor, to make some schlock just because they can, and they can make it a tax write-off. That's kind of that is an insider. That's a little bit of an insider detail there.
I'm being honest. Problems like that. I'm not gonna lie.
There are, and I'm like, as an extra, I stopped doing background work in 2000 and what was it, like 15, late 2014. But for 4 years, for 5 good solid years, there were a handful of projects I worked on that I was like regularly working on, which is a blessing. It's great, sure. But at one point, I started asking myself, and others did too alongside me, at what point do they realize they're not making a good film here because the story just sucks? And we've already followed this long. There are films like that.
You've worked on them. I've worked on them. Like, I'm sitting there going,
yeah.
And that's the thing. But that's one of the things that I really love now. I took a good 7 years off of acting. And in that time, I moved behind the camera and I started writing and I started creating my own content. And one of the things that I love now is that there's an accessibility for people to make stuff, to make their own stuff. And the beauty of that is one of the challenges too for an actor coming up is that there's this constant, there's a lot of steps that you have to go through. And, how do you get a show reel that's good enough so that you can get cast in bigger things? Because you might get a great casting, you might get a great thing, and you're like, I've got this great thing, and you're in there, and you're like, that's crazy, Bob. And you're like, how do you put that into a show reel? Even though it was great, even though it was like something, but it's just like, it doesn't show thing. And then, the other option is student films. But then, one of the challenges with student films is, you're not always sure about the writing and quality, and some of them never get finished. You know what I mean? And so
I'm sorry about the background.
It's okay. It's okay. Well,
listen,
cue the cue.
Some things don't get finished, and believe it or not, it's really funny you mention that because, and I guess I can say I've experienced more doing background because I was on more sets as background. When you become a principal, you cut that kind of out of your thing. It's not that you're becoming selective; it's that auditions are the real.
You have to become selective. Yeah,
you have to be selective, exactly. And it's not even that. It's just, auditions are a competitive thing, and it's much easier getting background work. And that's not saying anything about background work. But I've been on projects that I would work on the pilot of something, like a legitimate thing for Comedy Central, and then it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
They just stop mid-production, they run out of money, or they realize that this is a bad idea. Let's not waste any more time.
It happens.
But the beauty is that the last 5 years, Hollywood has had an influx of more, how do I say it? A more diverse amount of stories, more diverse types of things. Yeah, and it's coming from Korea, and it's coming from Europe, and it's coming from every corner of the globe, and it's wonderful. Look at the Squid Game from Korea. Everybody's
I'm in Vietnam right now, and so and I think one of the things, that is. I grew up in the U.S. My dad's English and my mom's American. So luckily I had an English dad. So there was this, a slightly different worldview that we were being taught when we were growing up. But one of the things that was really funny is that because of Hollywood was so American centric. And it was like, and there's this real belief that was like, this is the way the whole world thinks. They don't. No. It's an entirely different worldview out there. And there's thousands of different worldviews, Yeah.
Yep. And I appreciate that so much.
And that's what I loved when I
'cause-
loved when what was that? Parasite won the Oscar, for best film.
That's why I was counting how many years I'm going to go back and saying refreshing films, because I started off with Parasite kind of influencing that. And that was 3 years ago, 2 years
About
ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say I would also give some of the credit to streaming. I think that, Netflix has their fingers in so many different markets, and they want to kind of promote those different markets. And like, look at Squid Games, man.
I also personally can't tell you how many great Indian,
Right.
Bollywood movies, like musical and non-musical.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought 10 years ago that I'd be watching them like this on Netflix. And here and behold, we're being exposed to wonderful content from, like I said, every part of the globe.
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of these young people this is one of the cool things, right? A lot of these young people are growing up outside the system. Because traditionally you had to go through all these steps, but now these streaming networks need content so badly. They're like, "Hey, that's pretty cool. We'll take that, throw it up."
Yep.
And so there's
content. Yep.
There's just a chance for people. Now I want to come back to you.
Sure.
How did you? So you started background, but where was it that you did you train as an actor? Did you just start saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna do roles, and I'm gonna wing it"? How did you do it?
Very good question. So, in Brooklyn College, as a requirement, I had to take like some kind of elective. So this is just the very beginning, and I took an intro to acting class. Considering I was already doing background work, and I kind of wanted to see what goes on in an acting class. And this was pretty basic, but a lot of fun, a lot of room for creativity, a lot of warm-up exercises, a lot of things that kind of set the foundation for what was to come.
Yeah.
When I graduated Brooklyn College, a year later, I started Strasberg by taking Lee Strasberg Institute, I should say. And I started by just taking a 3-month intensive, so to say. And that was really eye-opening for me, but it also told me that I shouldn't just stick to one method, quote-unquote, of training, but see what else I can learn from other people. And I figured that private coaching would be the way to go. And for years, I took improv classes, I took sitcom training classes, and then recently, right before the pandemic, I got busy work-wise, and I couldn't really be doing it with him, but there was a great acting coach. He's still around. His name is Michael Lugio, and I recommend him to a lot of people. I learned a lot in the character creation process and script analysis because of it.
Nice.
So acting coaches for me, I think, recommending anything to any actor would be, unless you want to go for like a BFA or an MFA, which I was considering at one point. Acting private coaches, if you find a good one, stick with them.
That's awesome.
That's how my training started, and I learned a lot from being on set. I learned a lot from the networking that I do with the people that I work with, and when I'm on set, for example, I try to learn, not only how to become a better actor from the experienced individuals that I'm lucky to be working with, but it's more so I'm the type that will be on set making sure that I will be getting the producers' phone numbers at one point so that I can network with them later. Because if I'm on set, I take every opportunity to talk and learn about everybody so that later on when I'm making my own film, here are some reliable people I can call.
Exactly.
So
that's one of the things, like, with this podcast, I'm meeting really cool people. I'm hearing their stories, but I'm also creating a network. And people don't understand, when you build a network, you are building an army that you can, and like people that you can recruit and go to battle with if you ever need to, and it's, and I think that we have kind of, there is a stigma. A lot of people feel, this is something I was talking to some people about last night. There's a stigma to the idea of strategizing and networking. Like, oh, you're just using people. No. There's mutual beneficial things that come into, it's mutually beneficial for everyone to help each other. It's just, can we find a way that people can help each other and work together? And I think that that's something that people have to kind of change their mindset on. You're not using people. You are creating something where everyone wins. And that's just great, Now, you said something that I do want to pick at, that I want to poke at. You were touching a little bit, you were doing comedy and improv stuff. Is that kind of an area that you want to go down, or was that just what was available?
That was honestly just something that a lot of friends were. It was a class that a lot of friends were taking and recommending, so I decided to take it myself. And that particular coach was just doing scene work with us and a lot of improv and stuff, and that made me consider going to improv school. But I was always, after graduating college, I was always at a battle with myself if I want to sign up for a long-term program, considering it would take away other opportunities since I wouldn't be available.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Things like that. That's why the improv was just because that was what the coach was teaching, and I really enjoyed learning all of that and the scene work stuff. But the comedy part was actually a sitcom class with Richard Klein, who played Larry from Three's Company.
That's awesome.
So I kind of wanted to learn that from somebody who has done it. And it was a short little course, but I learned a lot of things from that. And kind of every time I auditioned for a comedic character, which isn't much, it's always a dramatic thing that I'm auditioning for. But a movie I did this past March in New Mexico called Run and Gun, which was originally called The Ray, that role that I eventually got was written dramatically, but I felt the completely comedic spin on it, and I just brought that natural sense of what I thought was comedy. And I thought I was wrong, but right away they loved it, and they're like, no, this character's not dramatic. This character's supposed to be comedic.
It's awesome.
And I kind of just made it that way.
That's awesome, man.
After that experience, I am now really looking forward to auditioning for more comedies.
Yeah, right.
So,
well, it's interesting because one of the things that you had said early on when you were in the Robin Williams story is that you said they were looking for two characters. Do you feel like you sometimes get cast as the character actor?
Yes. A lot of times the roles that I end up booking are the types that are the ones that are seeking character types, like an interesting face, something that would make it more interesting.
And it's interesting. Sorry, there was a little bit of lag. I will stop and let you continue. Yeah. No, I'm going to edit that.
No, I'm good. I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm good.
It was like the video quality just went boom. When I was like, oh.
Yeah, same with watching your thing. Yeah.
Then I was like, damn it. No, because one of the things that my wife has gone up for multiple roles, and she's an Asian. My wife is a singer here in Vietnam. I think I said that earlier, but she does acting as well, and she's gone up for roles in the West, and they were often one was Asian. It was like an Asian madam, and then she auditioned for this quirky Asian girl, and then the girl that was the maid, and she was like, not feeling these things, man. It's it's the challenge with stereotypes and characters types is they're often looking for you to do something when I love the fact that you say you do these dramatic roles, and it's that to me is powerful because
it is, but then again, half of them are stereotypical because, when you think of goon, you think of a big, nasty-looking guy with a gun, and I welcome that. That's no problem because it's acting, it's creating, it's not an issue for me. But lately, I've been seeing guest star roles in television shows aimed towards more of the unexpected type.
So that's what I like, man, because that's real life. That's real life. Yeah, that's real life. Real life. There's not always some big, giant, 6'5" guy that's a mafia guy. Sometimes it's a little 4'9" dude who's like, "I'll kill you."
Right, exactly. I mean, I recently had an audition for the show Equalizer on CBS.
Nice.
And it was for the character of someone who used to be a goon but is now running the show. So they still look like a goon, but they're not playing a goon. They're playing the boss.
That's cool. That's cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the look is the same. So
I think that's one of the things that I think we need to do is we as a society need to rethink kind of how we portray things. And I think that I think Hollywood's starting to kind of go down that path. The beauty is the world is a much more rich place than people have been told for a long time. And I think the beauty of living overseas is you see that. Now, as an actor, where do you go for your inspiration? Where do you go? What do you turn to? Who do you watch? You know, what are some of the greats that you are like inspired by?
That's a good question. Inspired by. Okay, definitely Al Pacino. I mean, everybody's going to say that, but Al Pacino. I'd say
especially can I say early Al Pacino too. I love early Al Pacino.
Early, of course. Yeah, no. Yeah, early Al Pacino, Serpico, that kind of there. Yeah. That's just Glenn Ross, Al Pacino.
Right.
Yeah. Pacino, definitely De Niro. One of my top two favorite actors. I have to say, only because of the kind of work that he's done and who he is, and DiCaprio, definitely inspired by DiCaprio. Nice. But I'm talking about like if you take a contrast of roles, if you take What's Eating Gilbert Grape and then you take Wolf of Wall Street
and Revenant.
Yeah, you can go Gilbert Grape and Revenant because they're struggling, and then the Wolf of Wall Street because he knows how to have a good time. It's just such a contrast of like performances, but. I don't want to keep saying such new names and classic. I'd rather prefer to mention some classic people. And to me, and I consider him classic, it's James Gandolfini.
Oh, right.
I didn't get because when Sopranos came out, I was only 9 years old. I was 10 years old, And right around the time it was ending, I started watching just a few episodes because they would happen to be airing after Entourage.
Yeah.
But now, for the last few years, I went back and I rewatched every single episode of The Sopranos, and I was like,
"It's such a nuanced actor, man.
Master actor. What a just nuances, but like there's such intelligence in his performances in his performance as Tony Soprano. Mm-hmm. Any other film he's done, of course, he's great, but like to understand that amount of content, to understand where your character is going without actually knowing where he's going, because in season 1 you have no clue there's going to be season 8.
Yeah.
And it's just like I honestly would say The Sopranos. I would say watching The Sopranos, just that dialogue and everything, I would go for inspiration there, even if I'm not playing a mafia role, even if I'm not playing a goon, because I believe the characters portrayed there. A lot of people say some of them are comical at points, but I personally believe they're as real as it gets.
Yeah.
It was written by a guy who is as real as it gets, David Chase. So to bring that out of the actors, James Gandolfini,
James Gandolfini.
Meryl Streep is another actress who I find inspiration from because of what she does in everything.
I met her. It was such a cool. I worked in. Can I share one story? You mind if I interject? A really cool event.
No, please interject. I'll add to your story about Meryl Streep. Sure.
So when I was in LA, I mean, everyone had side jobs, when you're coming up, and it's like, so I was working in the Sunset Tower hotels. I was working in the spa. Okay. I was doing social media and the assistant manager of the hair salon spa. It was fun. It was why I came behind the camera and started doing videos for them too. It was really fun.
Sounds good. Sounds like a relaxing job.
Yeah, it was really intense actually, but it was fun. Okay. So, yeah, it was really like all the hairdressers were always at each other's throats. It was always drama.
You had to keep the peace.
Keep the peace. But the cool thing about the Sunset Tower Hotel is that it's where the Vanity Fair party is every year, up in the upstairs. I think they have actually changed the hotel name back to like the Argyle Hotel. I don't remember, but it's on the Sunset Strip. And so one night, my friend said, "You're an aspiring actor. You need to come upstairs with us." And I was like, "Man, I don't want to go upstairs. I want to go home and just rest and watch some TV." My friend's like, "You need to come upstairs," and I was like, "Whatever, dude." So I went upstairs, and I was definitely underdressed for the occasion.
Yeah, you like in a uniform?
It wasn't the night of the Vanity Fair party, but it was like 2 days before, and everyone that was anyone was there, and it was crazy. Walked up in the room, and I'm just like, you enter the room, and it's really dark in there, and you don't see what's going on. And I walk in, and we stand next to the bar. And I'm just like looking around, and I see all these faces next to me, and my brain took some seconds to kind of compute, and I look up, and like I'm seeing this guy next to me. I'm like, oh man, and it's just like, it's just, I'm in a place with a bunch of people. And then all of a sudden, my brain starts going, ding, 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 ding. And it was like my brain, and I'm like over here, and it's like right next to me. Yeah, Michael C. Hall is literally like right next to me. Dexter's standing next to me. And then right here is Lindsay Lohan. And then it was the same year as like a year after the Hurt Locker. Anthony Mackie was like halfway down the bar. He was talking to a bunch of people. George Clooney was there. Stanley Tucci was over here. Sophia Loren was there. Sophia Loren was sitting at a table. And what year was this? It was had to be 2007.
Wow, that's freaking awesome. I mean, that's
in the room is like, and there's this like, you know, people are coming in, everyone's like turn to look, but you know, the room conversations constantly continued, right? And there was nothing stopped the room, and then all of a sudden, the room went just completely quiet. And in this magnificent white dress, Meryl Streep enters the room. And she just, wow. And the room just goes quiet. Stanley Tucci walks up, kisses her hand, and they sit down together. And the whole room's quiet. And everyone just turns and worshipped Meryl at that moment. And I was just like, so I've never felt like such a presence. And she carries it. She's such an amazing actress. And just the presence around her is just, she just has this aura of like, wow. And that was like the crazy part, because that whole room, it was full of famous people, but like everyone shut up for Meryl Streep. Doesn't matter who you were. Meryl Streep walks the room, you're like, the queen is here.
I love that. And I would imagine the same happened when Sophia Loren entered the room.
It was.
You probably missed that part, but no,
yeah,
of course.
She was already sitting there. But that was the thing. Even Sophia Loren looked at her and she was like,
legendary. That's in that room. That's great.
It's Meryl.
That's great.
It's amazing, right? It's just, it's insane, man.
I'll just, this like, I mean, you know, you're saying George Clooney, you're saying Sophia Loren, just Meryl Streep, just like, that is the party to be at.
Literally, I was in the wrong clothes, man. I mean, like, people. It was funny because I was there and people were looking at me like, "Who's this guy?" It's like, well,
right.
I can do a YouTube video for you for cheap if you want to.
Just whip out the camera now and start filming.
Gotcha.
Right. Exactly.
Want to do a vlog? I'm your guy. Oh man.
You know, not a lot of people have that feeling about them. Not a lot of people exude that energy. Only a few, and I've come across maybe one or two occasions of that. But the way you describe that, it's like people recognize
greatness,
talent, greatness. That's the word, greatness. Yeah. Because everybody has talent in that room. That the talent got them there, along with looks, of course, depending on who you ask. But she is one of the best ever to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and she is a living legend. It's not easy to say that a lot about a lot of people, but yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was wild, man.
That's great.
Now, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the only time I ever felt that kind of, the way you described that was where everybody became quiet, everybody just like silence, was when Martin Scorsese and DiCaprio entered the set of Wolf of Wall Street. That was like...
You got to work on Wolf of Wall Street?
I had a little extra thing. I'm not name dropping anything. When they walked on that set, you felt, and they didn't carry themselves as if they're like, I'm Martin Scorsese, I'm DiCaprio. No. Down to earth. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
No ego, but people are quiet. People are like the amount of living legendary that's in here right now.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, man.
Everybody from the assistant director who worked on Gladiator, among other things.
But this is the thing that I think that a lot of actors forget, and a lot of people getting into this industry forget. Unless you have a love for this, unless you have an absolute love for this, go do something else, man. Because it's like you have to love it. You have to be, and if you're not geeking out when you walk on set, you're not doing it right, man. That's like, and you should have that joy. Certainly go to work, do your job, But you should also, every time you get on set, be like, thank you, universe, for this, because this is awesome.
That is exactly how I feel every no matter the role.
Yeah.
When the first scene production assistant walks you from the trailer to the set, there's a huge grin on my face. Even if I'm in character, there's a huge grin on my face. Or even if I can't carry it because I'm playing somebody who's about to be serious or whatever, I can't wipe that smile off my face, knowing that I'm about to go do what I love.
Right.
Absolutely. And that same love will conquer the pain of rejection. So if you're not built for it,
man,
you gotta love it. You gotta love it.
I think one of my greatest experiences of like absolute joy though was not on a movie. It was when I went on a game show.
Which one?
Price is Right, man.
No, oh my God, that is awesome. We got to talk about that.
So I before we went on, it was for my birthday, and my friend, we got shirts made, right? So we got shirts that said "Give me Plinko" or "Give me death," and so we got on to and I got in, and it was pretty cool. And so like my friend went and did some research online. So they said people don't talk about it, but in your they do a pre-interview, and they said it online. They say you have to freak out. Like, they don't want the guy who's like, yay, I'm from Ohio, I'm happy to be here. And so like when they call it, be like, yeah, this is amazing. You know, so I was like just like losing my mind, like, this is it right here. And so in the pre-interview, I was like losing my mind, and my friends are looking at me like, dude, Sean's nuts, dude, what the hell, man?
Is it true they put you in a line and they go to you one by one?
You line up. They sit you in front of a camera, and one by one they ask you, how are you doing? Like, how are you? Where are you from? I'm from California. This is awesome, you know. And then they're like, this guy brings the energy, and then those are the people that they pick. So if you want to get picked, you got to go mad energy, right?
You just gave me some insider information that I will utilize next time I'm in LA.
Right.
100%.
So I got there, and they called me down. So like, and they're like, Sean Trace, you're up on The Price is Right. And I grew up watching The Price is Right with my mom. We would watch it all the time. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm running down, you know, and I ran down, and I'm standing in the front corner, and I was like, oh yeah. And it's like my friends were like, you know, and we were all bidding. And I got to tell you, I love sports, but the sport I hate most of all is golf. I've never been a golfer. And this golf set comes out, and my friends are like, yeah, $1. And I bid on it, and I got it. And I went up on stage, and I was like, yeah, I'm up there. And then I played this game that I had never seen on Price is Right before, and I won that too. And so I won both games, and I'm like, yeah! But
amazing.
And I always thought that when I spun the wheel, that I would just, you know, I see these people at home and they don't know how to spin the wheel, and I was like, I'm gonna nail it. I'm gonna spin that wheel. I did a horrible job spinning the wheel, man. I was just like, oh, this is really heavy, dude. It's really heavy. And I lost out on the spin. I was wanting to get the final Price is Right, you know, where you get the showcase showdown, man. I didn't make it.
My question to you is, what did you win? What was the bidding prize that you won, and what was
the bidding prize I won was a set of golf clubs. Okay.
I thought it was the golf game that you were playing.
No.
On the stage.
I did play the golf game on the stage as well. It was
that makes so much sense.
And then I won a trip to Pebble Beach or something. And so,
wow, that's okay. That's awesome. That's so cool. So, you have to like pay taxes on that, or how does that work? Like, what is the inside?
I didn't accept it. So they give you cash in lieu of, or you have to pay taxes on stuff. And so I got the money for the golf clubs. I was like, just send me. And they're like, you can take golf clubs, or you can get cash. And I was like, I'm an actor in LA. Give me cash. I want cash.
And what did you get for the Pebble trip?
Pebble trip is either you accept it. There was no cash in lieu. So they said either accept it or you don't. And it was like, and they valued the trip really high. And I was like, I just didn't want to pay. It was like, 3-4 days, and it was like valued at like 10 grand. And I was like,
No.
I don't need that additional on my earnings, because that's painful. But yeah, it was fun, man. Right. But it was one of those events of just pure joy. Like, it was awesome.
What year was that? I want to look it up now. Do you have like a compilation of it online or like?
Man, I don't. I need. They sent it to me, but I got to go back and find it.
I would love to see it. I would love to see it.
I gotta find that. I gotta find that episode, and someday I'll people will be referencing that. Just like hopefully when I make it big. Just, do you ever see the guy from Breaking Bad, who played Jesse Pinkman?
I was just about to mention that.
He was on it. And I was like, and I remember mine. I was like, and as an actor, I was like, dude, I wonder if this is gonna be my moment like that too. It was awesome. Now,
people will remember it.
I hope so. If you could go back in time and give your younger self some advice, what advice would you give yourself? Not change anything, but give it advice. Don't worry about the phone. It's not a problem.
Sorry, I apologize. So, I guess that's a good question. That's a very good question. I want to give you a good answer. I'd say be more patient.
I like that.
Less impulsive. And more trust in yourself.
I like that. And
achieving what it is that you're setting out to achieve. Because if you asked me in 2014 or 2013 if I can imagine myself being with the credits I have now, doing what I'm doing now, I would have said one day, but I wouldn't think it would happen. In this amount of time.
Yeah.
Meaning it take too long to break through, but I just reinstilled the hard work in myself.
Yeah.
I would know back then to be a hard worker, as I know now to be a hard worker, but I would say definitely be more patient working.
I like that, Vlad. I saw this quote yesterday that I just posted on my Instagram and Facebook. And what was it? It says, pray as if it's up to God, but work like it's up to you, or hustle like it's up to you. You got to have that element.
That is the best quote. I'm going to reshare that.
Yeah.
Like when we're doing this interview, 100%.
I'll send you the correct quote, but like pray like it's up to God and hustle like it's up to you. And whether you believe in God or not, it means like just hope that it's going to fall into place, but yet don't leave it up to chance.
No. Because that means you're not working hard. If you're leaving it up to chance, it means you're not doing anything to make it happen.
Yeah. And, it takes blood, sweat, and tears, man. And love.
It does. A whole lot of love. 100%.
Now, if you could have a dream role besides Bond, what would it be?
To be one of the stars of a long-running TV show.
I like that.
Yeah.
I feel you. I would love to be on something like a Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's not even about what kind of show it will be. It's the fact that when you're acting on, let's say you're acting on a film for 3 weeks and you have a good amount of days that you're working and then it's done. And that's the most depressing part. I'll tell you why. We should tell the audience why.
I agree.
It's because for 3 weeks or whatever amount of time, you've created a family. You've created these friendships, and then like all this energy. And I mean, the greatest example I can do it of recently is spending 3 weeks in New Mexico doing a movie that's a dark comedy. It's an action thriller. It's got everything in it. Great cast. And you come together and you work every day. You wake up at 4 a.m. You're on set by 5:30. You're in the makeup chair by 5:30. You're on set by 7 a.m. You wrap at 5 p.m. You get back to the hotel at 6, and you get to do it all over again, no matter how tired you are. But you get to do it with the same people who by day 3 or 4 already know your name. And you've got like 15 or 16 more days with them, maybe even 20. But once that's over, all that electricity that came from all over the country to this one place in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then all that electricity just dies down and everybody goes back to where they came from. It's the most depressing thing in the world, and it's upsetting because you've started a relationship and you can't really keep nourishing it until there's a sequel or another chance to reunite at the premiere or something like that. So that's like why I would want to be the lead on a TV show for a long-running TV show is because I get to work with the same group of people, which I enjoy, doing no matter who it is. I mean, as long as they're obviously good people.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And I think that's beautiful thing to wish for. So we're gonna send that out to the universe tonight, brother.
For sure, absolutely, for the both of us.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, mine. I want to get in Star Wars. I want to play whatever, man. I don't care what. Huh?
Upcoming. Okay, got you. I know. I was gonna say The Mandalorian or like upcoming feature films.
Yeah, honestly, I'd prefer to be something in the Mandalorian universe because I love it. Right. I like it. I just like the direction they're going with the Mandalorian, man. Though, I mean, honestly, anything, man. Well, not anything. I don't want to be like giant blob. I don't want to play. Like.
I have to be not too familiar with the characters in it, but I know that what's popular right now.
I don't want to be Jabba the Hutt. You know what I mean? I want someone to see my face. You know what I mean? I don't want to be just inside a giant animal, like costume, and no one knows it's me. But I want to just be, unless I'm a Mandalorian and then I can wear a helmet the whole time and that's rad, But
right.
Yeah, man. I just love it. I think the idea of being part of something bigger than yourself is really beautiful too.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what filmmaking is. Just being a little, whether it's a co-star role, you come in and you just, you say a few lines and you do your part and they say, thank you so much for joining us. See you later. At that point, you don't have time to start any kind of emotional attachment. But I don't know how we got there, but I just wanted to say that for the reason. Yeah.
Brother, anything you want to say, I appreciate, man. Well, I want to say that I've appreciated you today and your time and your story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I appreciate your time and your questions are awesome.
Yeah, we got to do this again sometime, man. So if you ever have something that you'd love to share, or if you go home and you think about some cool topics that you're saying, hey, I would love to discuss this, you're always welcome.
For sure. And I just wanted to mention you recently interviewed one of my managers, Angie Lucane. Yeah,
Angie's
very cool.
Angie's rad, man. Angie's a cool person.
She is awesome. Everybody at the company's awesome. So, yeah.
Good people, man.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Very good people.